Burn the idea of a vision board. Let go of the 5-year roadmap you scribbled down last New Year's Eve. Stop writing desperate letters to the universe, hoping it will feel persuaded to give you what you want. These tools don't empower you, they pacify you. They bind you to a fantasy future while weakening your grasp on the present. We've been conditioned to believe that success requires a gleaming end goal, a fixed point on a distant horizon. But pause for a moment and examine your own experience. Has this habit of chasing distant achievements made you formidable? Or has it merely made you anxious? Has it given you control? Or has it turned you into someone praying for an outcome you never held power over? Niccolo Machiavelli, often caricatured, rarely understood, never worshipped goals. He never relied on the mercy of hope or the approval of the world around him. Instead, he cultivated something colder, more disciplined. He relied on method. A goal is merely a decorated wish. A method is relentless pressure. If you're exhausted from climbing ladders only to discover they were leaning against the wrong walls, then you're ready to hear the uncomfortable truth. But be warned, this isn't self-help, this is self-dominion. Most people drift through life in the limbo of becoming, waiting for the promotion, waiting for the partner, waiting for the ideal body, or the money, or the recognition. They live suspended in a not yet, and because of that, they are hollow in the now. One misfortune, a sudden crisis, a shift in circumstances, and they crumble. Why? Because their identity hinged on a future they hadn't reached. Machiavelli understood that the world is governed by chaos, what he called fortuna, the wild river of unpredictability. And if you build your identity on the riverbank of goals, you will drown the moment the water rises, and it always rises. What I am going to show you is how to stop building by the river, and instead become the river. I will guide you through replacing fragile goal setting with a Machiavellian principle far more enduring: positioning. Once you understand this, success and failure stop mattering. Those words lose meaning. You don't aim for one point anymore. You expand outward. You become a moving force, not a hopeful dreamer. But to do this, you must silence the part of you addicted to dreaming, the part of you that gets a dopamine rush from describing plans you never execute. You have to put to rest the child who wants a gold star and awaken the strategist who wants power. The method is simple, but its simplicity is brutal. You must look at your life not as a story unfolding, but as terrain. And on terrain, you don't hope, you maneuver. Ask yourself honestly, why do you set goals? Why do you write, "I want $1 million," or "I want to be happy"? It's because you're in pain. You're dissatisfied. So you craft a fantasy to escape your present reality. Goals aren't maps, they're painkillers. Machiavelli despised hope. He saw it as a liability. He wrote that men deceive themselves by imagining how the world should be instead of understanding how the world is. When you obsess over a goal, you narrow your vision. You stare so hard at the summit that you miss the cliff beneath your feet. You become rigid, and rigid things snap. Think back to the last major goal you failed to reach. How did you respond? You collapsed inward. You felt fraudulent, defeated, diminished, because you tied your worth to an outcome you never controlled. Machiavelli offers a different path. Virtue, not morality, but competence, skill, adaptability, unshakable effectiveness. A Machiavellian doesn't say, "I want wealth." A Machiavellian says, "I will master persuasion, understand capital, and position myself where wealth naturally flows." See the shift. One relies on luck, the other builds necessity. When you abandon goals, you aren't surrendering. You're declaring war on your own passivity. You begin asking the real questions. Where am I losing power? Where am I vulnerable? Where am I leaking energy? This is the moment the dreamer dies and the architect wakes. Stop scanning the horizon. Look at your hands. What structure can you build today that makes success practically unavoidable? Machiavelli reminds us that outcomes are shaped by chaos. Fortuna's wheel spins whether we want it to or not. But preparation is yours. Structure is yours. Positioning is yours. If your system is strong, even a bad outcome cannot destroy you. You can always pivot, always maneuver, always continue. This is the first step toward becoming untouchable. We live in a loud age. People broadcast every small ambition. I'm starting a company. I'm launching a project. I'm getting in shape. They announce their intentions long before they've earned the right to reveal anything. Machiavelli would call this a strategic suicide. He taught that a ruler must combine the strength of the lion with the cunning of the fox. But in the realm of ambition, you must begin as the fox. Every time you declare your goals publicly, two dangerous things occur. Your brain releases premature dopamine, making you feel accomplished before you've done anything. And second, you attract resistance, envy, doubt, sabotage. You give the world a target. Machiavelli insisted that a leader should never reveal their designs until the moment of execution. He wrote, "One must be a great fagner and dissembler, so delete your goals from your bio. Remove them from casual conversation. Move in silence. This isn't secrecy, it's conservation. Talking drains power. Action generates it." Imagine you're assembling something explosive, a device designed to alter your life. You wouldn't show sketches. You wouldn't post updates. You would build quietly until the moment of detonation. Be the explosion. Instead of goals, have a private agenda. Instead of announcing, start plotting. When you operate with quiet intent, you walk differently. You enter rooms aware, calculating. You observe more than you reveal. Your silence becomes a mask of power. People feel it. They don't know what you're planning, and that mystery forces respect. Before we transition to the next part, let me ask you a question to spark engagement. What S1 goal you've announced publicly that you now realize weakened your drive? Let me know in the comments. Here is where most people break. They set a goal, grind relentlessly, sacrifice everything, and then life throws an unexpected punch, a health crisis, a market collapse, a sudden loss. The goal becomes unattainable, and the person shatters. But the strategist, the Machiavellian, responds differently. They know chaos isn't the enemy. Chaos is the proving ground. Machiavelli described fortune as a force that favors the bold, the assertive, the adaptable. He wrote, "Fortune is a woman, and she must be conquered with audacity." This means when the terrain changes, you don't freeze, you press forward. Forget plan A and plan B. There is only the objective and the terrain in front of you. If the terrain shifts, you shift with it. Take a job loss, for example. The goal setter says, "My path is ruined." The strategist says, "My necessity has increased. I now have leverage to pivot to a greater opportunity." Same event, opposite mindset. Your goal collapses. The strategist expands. This is anti-fragility. Wind extinguishes a candle, but feeds a wildfire. With goals, you're a candle, dependent on perfect conditions. With a method, you're a fire, strengthened by adversity. Ask yourself, If everything you have disappeared tomorrow, would you know how to rebuild? If the answer is no, you've grown too dependent on comfort. Machiavelli himself faced exile, torture, and humiliation. A lesser man would have faded into history. Instead, he used that misery to write The Prince, one of the most influential books ever created. His suffering became his ink. What are you doing with yours? We live in a culture that preaches self-love and gentle acceptance. There is a place for rest, but there is no place for fragility. Machiavelli famously asked whether it is better to be loved or feared. His answer was both, but if you must choose, choose fear. Apply this to yourself. You already love yourself. You forgive your own laziness, your distractions, your indulgences. But do you fear yourself? Do you fear becoming the version of you that wakes up 5 years from now completely unchanged? You must become a ruler of your own impulses. Right now, your impulses are staging a rebellion. They want comfort, they want sugar, entertainment, and distraction. You cannot love them into submission. You must impose order. Don't set a goal to lose weight. Instead, create a command for physical sovereignty. Your cravings are insurgents. Stop negotiating with them. When you become strict with yourself, you gain real freedom. The freedom that comes from knowing you can command yourself. A person who cannot control their morning cannot control their destiny. Establish your internal laws. I do not complain. I do not broadcast plans. I execute. I evaluate insults. I do not react to them. Uphold these laws and reward yourself. Break them and enforce the consequences. Be a just king, but a powerful one. So, what replaces goals? 3 pillars. First, positioning. Stop asking, what do I want? Start asking, where must I stand for success to be unavoidable? If money moves in a certain environment, position yourself there. If strength grows from resistance, put yourself in the middle of friction. Success isn't a chase, it's a location. Second, leverage. Goals are linear. Leverage is exponential. Use technology, networks, knowledge, and systems. Ask yourself, how can I achieve maximum output with minimum wasted effort? This isn't laziness, it's lethal efficiency. Third, if you lack energy, perform low-intensity strategic tasks. If you feel powerful, strike hard. Water doesn't argue with obstacles. It reshapes itself around them. So should you. This system eliminates emotional collapse because you cannot fail, you can only adjust. Delay becomes an opportunity. Setbacks become data points. Once you adopt this method, your very presence changes. You stop chasing life and start shaping it. You look less frantic, more composed, more dangerous. People sense certainty, and they gravitate toward it. While others cling to their 5-year fantasies, you lay foundations that will last for decades. You stop getting high on imagined futures and become intoxicated with the control you have over the present. Every move becomes deliberate. Every silence, strategic. Every obstacle, a new angle of attack. This is the Machiavellian way. It isn't bright. It isn't comforting. It isn't communal. It is lonely. It is cold. And it is powerful. Understanding it is not enough. You must guard your mind against slipping back into old, comfortable habits. And there is one final trap: emotional leakage. Letting your feelings contaminate your strategy. Machiavelli warned explicitly against this. In the next segment, we will break down the art of emotional detachment so deeply that manipulation, chaos, and pressure lose their grip on you. Before we continue, here's a question. Which part of your life right now needs Machiavellian positioning rather than goal setting? Comment below. I want to read your thoughts. And finally, if this documentary opened your eyes, hit the subscribe button and like the video. It helps the channel grow and brings more content like this. Click to continue. Let's go deeper.